I'm Lauren Mitchell, 32 years old. My hands tremble as I grip the steering wheel of my Mercedes parked just outside my childhood home in Short Hills, New Jersey. My sister's cruel words from a family dinner when I was 12 slice through my mind. Not good enough, never the bright one. Then my parents, their relatives. Even my cousins burst out laughing, their mockery echoing in the dining room. Tears burned behind my eyes, my heart pounding so hard I thought it'd break my ribs. Tonight, at my dad's 60th birthday dinner, my $15 million secret is about to shatter their perfect family image. Their golden child, my sister, wears bronze, her shine long faded. I glance at my phone, the Forbes article with my face on it, glowing in the dark, confirming my moment has come. A text from my best friend pings, "You sure about this dinner? It's gonna be explosive." I nod to myself, fingers tightening on the wheel. Years of their betrayal, my sister stealing my chances, my parents dismissing my dreams have led to this. My company, my wealth, my truth will hit them where it hurts most. Before I dive into my story, I want to know what time it is, where you are, and what city you're watching from. I'm thrilled to see how far my story reaches. Hit like and subscribe to join me on this journey of turning family betrayal into freedom. Growing up in Short Hills, New Jersey meant living in a neighborhood where lawns were always trimmed and parents pushed their kids to excel in school like it was a competition. Our family home was a typical colonial-style house, the kind that looked impressive on the outside, but hid all the pressure inside. My father, Joseph Mitchell, was a tenured physics professor at a nearby university, setting the tone for everything with his strict standards. He spent evenings grading papers and expected the same level of precision from us. My mother, Kimberly Mitchell, had once run her own interior design business, creating beautiful spaces for clients, but she gradually gave it up to support my father's career. She started skipping her own networking events to attend his department meetings, and by the time I was in kindergarten, her design sketches sat forgotten in the attic. My sister, Stephanie Mitchell, 2 years older, was the one who fit perfectly into that world. She absorbed facts like a sponge, acing every test without breaking a sweat. Dad would light up when she brought home straight A's, buying her new books, or taking her to special dinners as rewards. Stephanie's room filled with trophies from math competitions and science fairs, while mine stayed bare. I showed early signs of creativity, solving problems in ways that weren't straight from the textbook. In kindergarten, I organized a group game where kids traded toys based on what they needed, like a mini economy. My teacher praised my ability to see connections, but when Dad heard, he asked if I was keeping up with basic counting. By 4th grade, I clutched my first high score on a coding assignment, an A, after weeks of practicing simple programs on the family computer. I rushed home, bursting into the living room where Dad sat reviewing his lecture notes. "Dad, look at this. I built a program that sorts numbers automatically." He glanced at the paper, pushing his glasses up. "That's better than usual, Lauren. Keep practicing." For a moment, I felt a spark of hope. Then Stephanie walked in, waving her perfect score on a physics quiz. The teacher said I got the hardest question right that no one else did. Dad's face transformed, beaming as he examined her paper. "Outstanding, Stephanie. This natural aptitude will open doors for you." He turned to me. "Why can't you apply yourself like your sister?" Mom stood in the kitchen doorway, her eyes meeting mine with a flicker of sympathy, but she said nothing, just squeezed my shoulder. Later at dinner, while Dad spent the meal dissecting Stephanie's answers. The patterns stuck through elementary school. Stephanie's perfect grades earned her praise and privileges like extra allowance for academic excellence. I excelled in creative subjects like designing a neighborhood map app idea for fun, but struggled with rote memorization in science. My grades were solid B's, but that meant try harder suggestions from Dad. The 6th grade tech fair hit hard. I created a project tracking weather patterns with basic code, collecting data from local stations and predicting trends. It was beyond what most kids did, involving real algorithms I learned from online tutorials. Stephanie submitted a standard circuit board demo, the kind from kits everyone used. Hers won first place. On the drive home, Dad explained, "Your project was interesting, Lauren, but science demands accuracy, not guesses." Stephanie's ribbon sat on the dashboard, mine crumpled in my backpack. What Dad didn't see was my growing interest in tech investments. At 10, I started scanning his discarded newspapers for articles on emerging companies. Words like startup and venture capital puzzled me at first, but I tracked patterns noting how innovative apps solved everyday problems and boosted stock values. One breakfast, I shared my first insight. "Dad, that app company in the news could skyrocket because it fixes a common user issue no one else has." He folded the paper, amusement in his voice. "What do you know about markets, Lauren?" I explained my reasoning from patterns I'd spotted. "Companies like that usually rise 20% in 6 months after launch." When it happened exactly as I predicted, I showed him the update. "Lucky guess," he said, turning to quiz Stephanie on her upcoming test. That dismissal pushed me to develop my skills in secret. I hid a notebook under my bed, simulating investments with fake money. But the real blow came with the scholarship letter. In 6th grade, my tech teacher recommended me for a special program at a prestigious STEM academy, sending an acceptance letter with partial funding. It never reached me. Stephanie intercepted it, hiding it in her room to prevent me from outshining her. I only learned later, but at the time, I assumed rejection. Dad refused to pay for extra tutoring, saying, "We need to focus resources on Stephanie's potential. She's the one heading to top schools." Mom nodded along her own dreams, shelved mirroring the family's priorities. I pushed forward, borrowing library books on coding and markets. By 11, I could spot trends in tech stocks, like how social apps changed user behavior. Stephanie noticed my notebook, once snatching it during a fight. "This is stupid. You'll never be the bright one like me." Her words stung, but they fueled me. Dad overheard and laughed it off. "She's right, Lauren. Stick to basics." That night, I vowed to prove them wrong, starting a secret log of predictions that would one day build my empire. By my teenage years, I was hooked on tracking tech trends, sneaking my father's business magazines to study which apps were changing how people connected. It was 2005, and platforms like MySpace were exploding. I'd spend hours analyzing why some startups soared while others crashed, scribbling predictions in my secret notebook. One day, I noticed a small company building an app for group messaging. Nobody paid attention to it yet, but I saw its potential to simplify how friends planned events. I told Mom over breakfast, "This app could be huge in 6 months. It solves a real problem." She stirred her coffee, barely looking up. "Sounds risky, Lauren. Focus on your schoolwork." My sister Stephanie smirked from across the table. "Yeah, stick to something you're actually good at." I bit my tongue, used to her jabs, but kept tracking. 6 months later, that app's stock jumped 25% after a big launch. I showed Mom the article, expecting a nod. She just said, "Nice guess," and asked Stephanie about her debate practice. School became my proving ground. I joined the tech club in 9th grade, teaching myself to code basic algorithms from free online tutorials. My projects weren't flashy, but they worked: simple apps for tracking homework or sharing notes. My tech teacher, Mr. Anthony Collins, noticed. "Lauren, you've got a knack for seeing what's next in tech," he said, after I built a tool to organize club events. "Keep at it." His words stuck with me the first time an adult saw something in me beyond try harder. But at home, it was always Stephanie's show. She dominated debate competitions, her trophies piling up in the living room. Dad attended every match, clapping loudest when she crushed opponents with her quick arguments. My coding projects. Barely a mention. The regional tech competition in 11th grade was my shot to shine. I spent months on an AI project, a basic chatbot that predicted user preferences based on their search history. It was rough, but ahead of its time for a high schooler in 2007. I poured everything into it, testing late into the night, fueled by the idea of finally earning some respect. When I got the call that I'd made the finals, I raced to tell my parents. "Dad, Mom, I'm in the regional tech finals." Dad looked up from his laptop. That's nice, Lauren. When is it? I told them the date, my voice shaking with excitement. Mom frowned. That's the same day as Stephanie's state debate finals. It's a big deal for her college apps. They chose her event without a second thought. I competed alone, presenting to a packed auditorium, my hands sweaty but steady. My chatbot took first place, beating out projects from private school kids with better resources. I called home, expecting Mom to pick up. I won, Mom. Her voice was distracted. That's great, honey. Stephanie got second in debate, such a close call. My trophy went into my closet untouched. That same year, Stephanie pulled something that cut deeper. I'd shared my chatbot idea with her months earlier, hoping for once she'd be impressed. Instead, she used my concept for her own project at a national coding contest. She tweaked it just enough, changed the interface, kept the core algorithm, and submitted it as hers. Her version won second place, earning her a feature in the school paper and another round of praise from Dad. Stephanie's branching into tech now, he bragged at a family barbecue, relatives nodding. I stood there stunned, my own work stolen right under my nose. When I confronted her in her room, she laughed. You're never the bright one, Lauren. I just made it better. Her words hit like a slap, worse because she knew exactly what she'd done. I wanted to scream, but I kept quiet, my anger simmering into resolve. The final straw came during college application season. I applied to 7 schools, including Dad's alma mater, a top-tier university with a strong tech program. My grades were solid, as in computer science B's and sciences, and my competition win gave me a shot. Stephanie, of course, aimed for Harvard, her debate record and perfect GPA a golden ticket. When my rejection letter from Dad's school arrived, I hid it, crushed but not surprised. At dinner, Dad cleared his throat while Mom served lasagna. I heard you didn't make my university, Lauren. I froze, fork in hand. Yeah, but I got into state with a partial scholarship. He scoffed. State takes anyone. Their tech program's average at best. I pushed back, heat in my cheeks. It's actually top-ranked for AI research. Mom cut in, voice soft but firm. Lauren, we can't afford 2 kids at expensive schools. Stephanie's Harvard acceptance is the priority. They'd pay for her, but I was on my own. That night, I lay awake, their words looping in my head. Stephanie's theft, their dismissal, the way they'd chosen her over me again. I'd been hiding my potential for years, scribbling predictions in my notebook, tracking stocks nobody else noticed. My latest prediction, a small AI startup poised to disrupt online retail, had just doubled in value. I didn't tell them. Instead, I started planning. They'd underestimated me my whole life, but I'd make them see. Not now, not tomorrow, but when the moment was right, I'd show them what I could do. I swore to myself I'd build something so big they couldn't ignore it, a success that would hit harder than any argument. My secret portfolio grew, and with it, my determination to prove them wrong. College application season in 2008 was brutal. I'd set my sights on 7 schools, including my father's alma mater, a top-tier university with a cutting-edge computer science program. My grades were strong, straight A's in coding classes, solid B's elsewhere, and my regional tech competition win gave me an edge. But the rejection letter from Dad's school hit like a punch. I sat on my bed, staring at the words, "We regret to inform you," my stomach twisting. I didn't tell my parents, knowing they'd brush it off. When I mentioned State University of New Jersey's partial scholarship for their AI-focused tech program, Mom barely looked up from her phone. That's fine, Lauren, but it's not exactly prestigious. Dad nodded. We're putting our money towards Stephanie's Harvard tuition. It's a better investment. Their words stung, but I'd expected it. I packed my bags with the few $1,000s I'd saved from summer jobs and left for State, determined to prove them wrong on my own. State's campus was a mix of old brick buildings and shiny new labs, a place where I could finally breathe. Nobody knew me as Stephanie's lesser sister. My roommate Michelle Brooks became my lifeline. She was a marketing major with a sharp wit and zero patience for family nonsense. One night, over late-night ramen in our dorm, I spilled the story of Stephanie's betrayals. Michelle leaned forward, eyes fierce. Girl, forget them. Build something they can't ignore. Her words lit a fire in me, and I decided to keep my progress secret, saving my success for the right moment. My first computer science class introduced me to Professor Jennifer Bennett, a former AI researcher who'd worked at a major tech firm. She didn't teach from dusty textbooks. She brought real-world problems like predicting app adoption rates based on user data. During a group project, I suggested an algorithm that factored in social media trends, not just raw numbers. It outperformed everyone else's models. After class, Professor Bennett pulled me aside. Lauren, your approach is unconventional, but it's brilliant. You see patterns others miss. She handed me a stack of books on tech investing, from venture capital strategies to startup case studies. I devoured them, spending nights in the library mapping out market trends. That summer, I worked as a barista at a tech-heavy coffee shop near campus, serving coders and startup founders. The manager, Angela Larson, noticed me reading tech blogs during breaks. "You're into this stuff, huh?" she asked, then started sharing tips on how small investments could grow. She showed me how to spot early-stage startups with potential like ones building AI for e-commerce. Inspired, I took $2,000 from my savings and invested in a little-known AI startup focused on personalized shopping. It was a risk, but my research showed their tech solved a gap bigger firms ignored. 8 months later, their stock tripled after a major retailer signed on. My $2,000 turned into $6,000, enough to cover a semester's books and fees. My portfolio grew to $50,000 by junior year, all hidden from my family. The real turning point came when I found the letter. During a weekend visit home, I was cleaning out my old desk and discovered a crumpled envelope tucked behind a drawer. It was the STEM Academy scholarship offer from 6th grade, the one Stephanie had hidden. My hands shook as I read it: full funding for a top program, a chance to study with the best. She'd stolen it to keep me in her shadow. The betrayal burned hotter than ever, crystallizing my plan. I wouldn't just succeed. I'd make them face their mistake when the moment hit hardest. I started tracking my family's lives through mutual friends, learning Stephanie was aiming for a law firm job after Harvard. I kept my own path quiet, telling my parents I was studying computers when they bothered to ask, which was rare. After sophomore year, I landed an internship at a small New York tech firm analyzing startup pitches for investors. My mentor, William Ward, was a senior analyst who'd fought his way up in the male-heavy industry. "Tech's a tough field for women," he warned me on my first day. "You'll need to be sharper than everyone else." I thought of Stephanie's theft, my parents' dismissal, and nodded. "I've been ready for years." William taught me how to pitch to skeptical investors, navigate boardroom egos, and trust my instincts on market shifts. My first big call was recommending a niche AI company focused on data privacy. The firm ignored it, calling it too speculative. I invested $10,000 from my portfolio. 6 months later, that company's stock soared 200% after a government contract. My colleagues started noticing me, but I stayed low-key, saving my wins for myself. By senior year, I was running a small investment club with classmates, pooling $5,000 to test my strategies. We focused on AI startups using my mix of market data and social trend analysis. Our fund grew 40% in a year, catching the eye of the campus newspaper. I didn't send the article home. Instead, I kept building my portfolio, reinvesting every dollar and planning for the day I'd face my family. Michelle caught me late one night staring at that old scholarship letter. "You're really going to make them regret this, aren't you?" she asked. I smiled, my resolve hardening. "Wait until they see what I've built." I pictured the moment, some big family event, their faces when they learned the truth. That scholarship theft wasn't just a betrayal. It was the fuel for my revenge. I swore I'd reveal everything when it would hit them hardest, when their perfect image would crack wide open. After graduating with honors in computer science in 2012, I moved to New York, diving headfirst into the tech world. My first job was an entry-level analyst position at a mid-sized investment firm, evaluating AI startups for senior partners. Most of my colleagues came from Ivy League schools, their confidence backed by fancy degrees and family connections. They sized me up a state grad with off-brand sneakers and dismissed me as out of my league. I kept my head down using the skills I'd honed in college. 3 months in, I spotted a pattern in user data that screamed potential for an AI-driven advertising platform. I pitched it to the team blending market metrics with social media trends. The senior partner, Jonathan Grant, raised an eyebrow. Interesting, Lauren, but too risky for our clients. They went with safer bets. I invested $15,000 of my own money in that platform. 6 months later, it landed a deal with a major ad agency, and its stock surged 250%. My portfolio hit $100,000, but I didn't say a word. That quiet win set the stage. I climbed the ranks fast, becoming a senior analyst by 26, the youngest in the firm. My approach, mixing hard data with cultural shifts, caught the eye of Jonathan, who started pulling me into high-stakes meetings. I advised on deals that outperformed the market by 30%, building a reputation for spotting what others missed. By 28, I took a leap and launched Tech Insight, my own investment firm focused on AI startups nobody else dared touch. I poured $800,000 of my savings into it, working 18-hour days in a tiny Brooklyn office. The first year was brutal, pitching to skeptical clients who questioned my age and gender. Then, Eric Blackwell, a tech founder who'd sold his company for $40 million, took a chance on me. "I like how you think outside the box," he said, handing me $5 million to invest. My strategy paid off, growing his portfolio 50% in a year. Word spread, and Tech Insight's client list exploded. By 2025, we managed $1 billion in assets, and my personal net worth hit $15 million. I bought a sleek Manhattan condo with views of the Hudson, but nobody back home knew. I kept my family in the dark. On visits to Short Hills, I rented cheap compact cars and wore plain sweaters to blend in. My parents still saw me as the kid who messed around with computers. My sister Stephanie had graduated Harvard Law and landed a job at a corporate firm, but I heard through mutual friends that her career was stalling. She'd lost key clients, racked up credit card debt to keep up her polished image, and was scrambling to maintain the golden child aura. My parents didn't notice, still gushing about her law school pedigree at every holiday dinner. They barely asked about my work. Once over Thanksgiving, Dad glanced at me across the table. "Still doing that computer stuff, Lauren?" I nodded, dodging details. "Something like that." Mom chimed in, "Stephanie's handling a big case now, such a demanding job." I smiled tightly, already planning. Through Michelle Brooks, my college friend, I kept tabs on my family's situation. She'd stayed close to mutual acquaintances in Short Hills and passed along news. Stephanie's firm was downsizing, and she was on thin ice after losing another client. My parents' house needed major repairs, leaky roof, outdated wiring, and they were strapped for cash, even talking about taking out a loan. Michelle texted me one night, "Your sister's drowning in debt. Your parents are clueless." I sat in my condo staring at the message, a plan crystallizing. My father's 60th birthday dinner was coming up, a big family event with relatives and colleagues. It was the perfect stage. They'd built their whole image around Stephanie's success, oblivious to her cracks and my empire. I'd waited years for this, since the stolen scholarship, the copied code, the dismissed dreams. This was my moment to break their illusion. I started preparing. I pulled up Tech Insight's performance report, screenshots of my Forbes feature as the AI investment queen, and double-checked my net worth numbers. Every visit home I'd played small, letting my parents call my work fiddling with stocks, or VO van, as Mom once put it in a rare phone call. "Why don't you get a stable job like Stephanie?" she'd asked, oblivious to my billion-dollar firm. I didn't correct her. Instead, I bought a tailored suit for the dinner, one that screamed success without saying a word. I booked a luxury rental car, not the usual beat-up sedan, for the drive to Short Hills. Michelle called me the week before. "You're really doing this, aren't you? Blowing it all up?" I laughed, my voice steady. They've had it coming for years. My sister's struggles, my parents' blind favoritism, their crumbling finances. It all lined up. The birthday dinner would be their stage, but my spotlight. I'd reveal everything not just to prove them wrong, but to make them feel the weight of their choices. I pulled into my parents' driveway in Short Hills, the sleek lines of my luxury rental car a stark contrast to the compact junkers I'd driven on past visits. My tailored suit hugged my frame, a silent signal of the truth I'd hidden for years. Tonight was my father's 60th birthday dinner, a big affair with relatives and colleagues packed into their colonial home. I'd planned this moment since I found that stolen scholarship letter, since Stephanie copied my code, since my parents dismissed my dreams as Van. My $15 million empire was ready to shatter their perfect family facade. Inside the dining room buzzed with chatter. Mom greeted me with a quick hug, her smile warm but distracted. "Lauren, so glad you made it." Dad nodded from the head of the table, already deep in conversation about Stephanie's latest law firm case. My sister sat across from me, polished in her designer dress, playing the golden child. I sipped my wine, waiting. The small talk dragged, relatives asking about my computer job, Dad brushing it off with Lauren still tinkering with that stuff. Then Stephanie leaned forward, her voice sharp. "Still chasing those tech dreams, Lauren? You're not good enough to be the bright one in this family." The room erupted in laughter, my parents joining in, their chuckles slicing through me. My hands clenched under the table, but I forced a tight smile, my heart pounding with the weight of what was coming. Before I could respond, Kyle Evans, my friend Michelle's husband and a colleague of Stephanie's, paused mid-bite. "Wait. Lauren Mitchell, from Tech Insight." The table went quiet. He pulled out his phone, scrolling. "You're the AI investment queen from Forbes, right?" I nodded, my pulse racing. "That's me." Kyle turned his screen, showing my cover photo in front of a Manhattan skyline. "This says your firm manages $1 billion. Is that true?" The air-shifted eyes darting to me. Mom's fork froze. Dad's brow furrowed. Stephanie's smile vanished. I stood, voice steady. "Tech Insight is my company. I founded it. We manage $1 billion in assets, and my personal net worth is $15 million. Gasps rippled through the room. Dad tried to recover. "Lauren, you never said anything about this." I cut him off, years of suppressed anger rising. "I didn't hide it. You never asked. You were too busy praising Stephanie to notice." I turned to her. "You stole my scholarship in 6th grade to keep me down. You copied my AI code in high school to win your little contest. And I faced my parents. You refused to pay for my college because Stephanie's Harvard was the better investment. You called my work Van every chance you got." Stephanie's face flushed. "That's not fair, Lauren. You were never good enough to compete with me." Mom reached for her hand. "Honey, let's not escalate." But I wasn't done. "You're drowning in debt, Stephanie. I know about your lost clients, your firm's layoffs. You needed that golden child image to survive." I turned to my parents. "Your house is falling apart, and you're begging for loans." I could fix it all with one check, but I won't. Relatives shifted uncomfortably, whispers starting. Dad's voice was sharp. "Why would you hide this and embarrass us now?" I laughed, bitter. "Embarrass you? You embarrassed me my whole life, laughing when Stephanie called me worthless." I set my glass down, the clink echoing. "Here's my offer. Apologize right now in front of everyone for dismissing me, for choosing her for everything. Or I walk out, and we're done forever." Stephanie's eyes welled up, but her voice was venom. I was jealous. "Okay. You were always so smug with your tech nonsense, but I'm still the one they love." Mom gasped, tears streaming. "Lauren, we didn't know." Dad stood defensive. "We did what we thought was best for both of you." I shook my head. "You did what was best for your egos. No apology then. We're finished." I grabbed my purse and walked out, their stunned silence trailing me. My heels clicked on the driveway as I reached my car, the weight of years lifting off my shoulders. I didn't look back. Months later, Michelle texted me updates. My parents sold their house to cover debts, moving to a cramped condo. Stephanie's firm fired her after her latest client loss hit the news, a scandal that tanked her reputation. Relatives stopped inviting them to gatherings, humiliated by the truth. I felt no guilt, only freedom. This journey taught me a hard lesson: toxic families don't get to define your worth. I built my empire despite their betrayal, and cutting them off set me free. Stephanie's jealousy, my parents' favoritism. They were chains I broke by believing in myself. My advice: watch for hidden envy even from those closest to you. It can destroy relationships if you let it. Define your own value, chase your dreams, and surround yourself with people who lift you up, not tear you down. That's the real path to success in a world quick to judge. Thank you for listening to my story. Subscribe to my channel and comment below if you've ever been underestimated by family. Share your journey to inspire others.
Flipping chicken thighs that were 2 days from expiring when the lie unraveled right in front of me. It was supposed to be family tradition. Every year, like clockwork, we gathered for the 4th of July barbecue. It was never fancy, just ribs, fireworks, stories, and that specific brand of chaotic joy only big families can create. But this year, too broke for prep and travel. My mom had texted, "We're just laying low this summer," my dad added. Even my sister, Serena, said, "Girl, nobody has the energy. Let's skip it this year." So, I did what I always do: adjusted, adapted, didn't make a fuss. I picked up a $6 tray of meat, threw some frozen corn on the side, and grilled by myself like a fool. I even played some old music to fake the vibe. I didn't blame them until my phone buzzed. It was a notification from Serena's Instagram. Party Popper Barbecue Bash 2K24 Fire Family Only. A live stream. I tapped it, thinking maybe it was an old clip. It wasn't. The screen lit up with colored lights. A DJ booth in my parents' backyard. Long tables decorated with red and white checkered cloths. Kids with sparklers. Wine glasses clinking. Laughter so loud I could feel it in my chest. Everyone was there. Cousins. Aunt Maya. Uncle Terrence, the same uncle I once cut ties with because he disrespected my family and I chose them over him. And there he was, getting a plate of ribs from my mother. But me? Nowhere. No invite. No call. Not even a pity text. I stood there frozen, spatula in hand. While the screen zoomed in on Serena doing a TikTok dance beside the grill, I helped my dad build with my tax refund 2 summers ago. My chest tightened, but I said nothing. Not when they set off the fireworks. Not when Serena panned to the camera and screamed, "Best night ever with my favorite people." Not even when someone in the comments asked, "Where's Danielle?" and she ignored it like the question never happened. I turned the grill off. Let the food get cold. I sat on the ground beside my tiny balcony and stared at that screen until the battery died. And for once, I didn't cry. Because this wasn't just a forgotten invite. This was a decision. They hadn't forgotten me. They had excluded me. My name is Danielle. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because if you've ever been the family's emotional ATM, the dependable daughter, the one who holds the rope while everyone climbs out, only to be left behind when the party starts, then you already know the burn I felt that night wasn't from the grill. It was betrayal. And it was about to light a fire in me they couldn't put out. They say family is forever. But in my case, it felt more like a subscription service, one that got canceled every time the perks ran out. I was the middle child, not the golden oldest, not the adorable baby, just Danielle. I wasn't the one my mom posted about on Facebook. That was Serena, prom queen, pageant winner, professional social butterfly. I wasn't the one Dad bragged about to his coworkers. That was Marcus, football scholarship, man of the house type. Me? I was the girl who kept receipts, who memorized bank statements, who didn't ask for much and somehow still asked for too much. From as early as I can remember, I was the fixer. When Serena's tuition fell short by $2,000, who quietly wired it without being asked. Me. When Marcus crashed his car and needed a down payment on another one, I figured out a small loan plan that wouldn't break him. When Mom called crying about the lights being cut off midwinter, I left work and paid the bill before the end of the day. They never said thank you. They said things like, We knew you'd come through. That's why we love you. You're so reliable. You're the strong one, Danny. But strong was just code for we'll dump everything on you because you don't complain loud enough to scare us. I remember one Christmas when Serena didn't show up with a gift for Mom, and they laughed it off. I gave Mom a hand-knit sweater I'd spent weeks making. She looked at it like it was a burden. Oh, you made this yourself? Not with joy. With discomfort. As if my love had weight, and she didn't want to carry it. Even when I bought the family new phones during a rough year, it became Serena's accomplishment. She picked the colors. Mom said. No, I picked the colors, I corrected. Serena just smiled. Said nothing. And I did what I always did. Stayed quiet. I told myself they just didn't know better. That one day they'd realize who I was, what I meant. I kept giving, thinking love was earned through sacrifice. But love, real love, doesn't make you beg for crumbs at a table you helped build. And that barbecue? That was the final proof. They didn't forget me. They didn't miscommunicate. They sat down and chose to plan joy without me. But they still had the audacity to expect me to fund their grief when the lights dimmed again. They still believed I was on standby, the family's personal emergency fund with no face, no feelings, just Venmo and forgiveness. And the sickest part? I used to accept it. I wore that pain like armor, but not anymore. Because that night, staring at their smiles through a screen, I finally understood. They didn't need me emotionally. They only needed my credit card. And that means I'm not their daughter. I'm their bank. But even banks close accounts. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on my back in bed, my room lit only by the glow of my phone screen. The live stream was over, but Serena had posted clips. Reels. Stories. Even a carousel of group shots titled, Just Family Things Two Hearts. I watched every second of it like a crime scene. There was Mom, laughing with her favorite cousin while holding a glass of sangria, the one she told me she didn't have money to make this year. There was Dad on the grill, flipping steaks and dancing to old-school R&B, the same man who said, it wouldn't be right to celebrate when we're behind on bills. There were even coordinated shirts. Cole Family Barbecue 2024. Custom. Printed. Planned. That takes time, effort, intent. You don't accidentally print shirts for a party you're too broke to throw. And that's what gutted me. It wasn't just the party. It was the lie beneath it. The coordination. The group texts I was never added to. The playlists I didn't help make. The recipes I wasn't asked to send, even though I was the one who always handled the damn potato salad. They moved without me. Not around me. Without me. I'd spent years telling myself I was just overlooked. Quiet. Forgettable. That it was my fault for not being more involved, more vocal. But this time, I had asked. I offered to help. I even volunteered to host it at my place to save them the trouble. They said no. And then they partied like I didn't exist. What hurt the most wasn't the stream itself. It was a message I got while doom scrolling through the comments. A DM from my cousin Lacey. Didn't know you weren't coming. I asked Serena if you'd be late, and she just shrugged. Shrugged. As if I were a guest who canceled last minute. As if I hadn't been deliberately erased from the plan. I lied to Lacey and said I had work, but that lie sat in my throat like gravel. Because I was done covering for people who never once covered for me. I thought about every time I made excuses for them. They're just stressed. They didn't mean it like that. Maybe they forgot to add me to the invite, but forgetting is a mistake. This was a strategy. I sat there watching a video of Serena popping a champagne bottle while shouting, "To chosen family." And something in me snapped. It wasn't rage. It was clarity. They weren't going to change. They weren't suddenly going to wake up and value me. They liked it this way. Because valuing me would mean acknowledging what they took. And people like them? They don't like facing the people they drained. They just like texting them when the bills are due. I closed the app, turned off the lights, and stared into the dark. I wasn't just left out. I was finally done. The text came at 8:13 a.m. the next morning. I hadn't even made coffee yet. Dad. Hey, sweetheart. Can you send over the $4,600 for the utility bills this month? We're really counting on you. No good morning. No apology. No explanation for the fireworks I watched explode over a house I used to call home. Just bold-faced entitlement, wrapped in sweetheart. I stared at it for a full 2 minutes, my thumb hovering over the screen, heat building in my chest. Not the kind that makes you scream, the kind that makes you decide. $4,600. Not $20 for gas. Not a one-time emergency. A full-on expectation. And that's when it hit me. They didn't feel guilty about the party. They didn't feel guilty about lying to me. Because in their minds, they didn't do anything wrong. They saw me as a resource. Not a daughter. Not a sister. Just a reliable little safety net who'd always say yes. I read the text again. Slower. We're really counting on you. They weren't just asking. They were betting on me. They assumed I'd still come through, just like I always had. After every exclusion, every slight, every forgotten birthday or canceled plan. Because they thought love meant obligation. But I finally saw it for what it was. Emotional manipulation disguised as family duty. My hand trembled as I typed, not from fear, but from finally saying the thing I'd swallowed 100 times. Me. Not anymore. No emoji. No explanation. Just those 2 words. I hit send, sat back, and exhaled so hard my ribs ached. It didn't take long. The next text came 2 minutes later.
Dad.
Excuse me? Another.
Dad.
What does that mean? Then the group chat blew up.
Mom.
Danielle. What's going on? Are you okay? Serena. Can someone call her? She's being dramatic again. I ignored them. That afternoon, I did something I should have done years ago. I canceled every auto transfer for my account. The monthly help I sent to their household?
Gone.
The money I chipped in for birthdays, baby showers, emergency dental work? Closed for business. I opened a savings account and renamed it. For me. Every penny they expected from me, now, went there. That evening, Serena posted an Instagram story. Some people forget where they came from. With a vague image of someone tearing up a check. I laughed. Forget where I came from?
No.
I remembered too well. I just finally remembered who I was before they taught me I had to earn love with my wallet. Before I became their quiet sponsor. Before I learned that even your own family will build joy around you while pretending you're not standing in the cold outside. I was done begging for entry to a party I wasn't even invited to. Let them host barbecues. Let them send texts. Let them wonder why the ATM stopped spitting out affection. Because this time, I wasn't waiting for an apology. I was building a world where I didn't need one. It's funny how quickly people notice your absence when they can't benefit from your presence anymore. The first week after I sent not anymore, the group chat went quiet. I think they assumed I was just throwing a tantrum, that I'd cool off, cave in, and come crawling back like always. But I didn't. I didn't text back. I didn't answer calls. I didn't check Serena's stories. I let the silence grow. And like clockwork, the cracks started to show. On Thursday, my mom sent a voice note. Fake sweet, guilt-laced. Danielle, honey, we're worried. You're being distant. We didn't mean to hurt you. Didn't mean to hurt me. They meant to exclude me. That part wasn't accidental. Then Dad followed up with his signature passive-aggressive line. I just hope this new attitude of yours doesn't cost you the people who love you most. The people who love me? You mean the ones who threw a whole party and pretended I was dead? The ones who lied straight to my face and then expected $4,600 the next day?
Right.
So, I responded with the most brutal thing I've ever done. Nothing. No reply. No reaction. I changed the notification settings on my phone so texts from Mom, Dad, and Serena didn't even light up my screen. But I made time for one person, my little brother, Jesse. He's younger, quieter, and always stuck between being loyal and being afraid. He texted me, "Are you okay?" And for once, I told him the truth. Yeah, I'm actually more okay than I've ever been. Just finally drawing the line. He responded, "I get it." That's all he said. But it was enough. The rest of the family, though, they didn't get it. Because for the first time in their lives, the Danielle they knew, the helper, the giver, the fixer was gone. And suddenly, they were flailing. Aunt Maya messaged me about pitching in for Grandma's birthday gift. I didn't respond. Serena sent a screenshot of a GoFundMe she made for unexpected medical bills. I didn't click it. Mom called from a different number, I blocked it. And in the meantime, I booked myself a weekend getaway. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere warm. I took the money I would have sent to them, and I paid for a massage, a silk robe, and a balcony view of the ocean. No one asked me if I was okay, so I stopped asking them if they were. I started journaling again. I bought new plants. I joined a book club that didn't include people who only remembered I existed when rent was due. And one night, as I ate takeout on my couch in peace, Serena posted this on her story. When you finally put yourself first, selfish people start calling you changed. The irony nearly knocked the rice out of my mouth. They couldn't believe I'd stopped pouring into a family that treated me like a spout, something you turn on when you're thirsty and shut off when you're full. But I wasn't a faucet anymore. I was a flood. And they were going to learn what it felt like to be left in the drought they created. The first real sign that they were struggling came through my email, a forwarded notice from the power company, addressed to my parents. Urgent. Second notice. Scheduled shut-off pending. It wasn't even sent to me directly. No, my dad just forwarded it with a single line. This is what happens when you ignore your responsibilities. Responsibilities? I laughed. Out loud. In public. I was sitting at a coffee shop, sipping a $7 lavender latte that I didn't feel guilty about for once. And this man, this father, was trying to shame me into feeling bad for no longer carrying his load. I deleted the email. 2 days later, Serena texted, "You're making everything harder than it has to be." No, how are you? No, I'm sorry. Just blame.
Typical.
Then came the social media shift. For weeks, Serena had been posting party photos, beach selfies, and passive-aggressive captions about outgrowing people. But suddenly, her feed went dark. Instead, I got tagged in a post by someone else. It was a screenshot from a local gossip page, one of those messy Instagram accounts that expose everything. The headline? Cole family GoFundMe sparks backlash. Sister of viral barbecue snubbed from fundraiser? Underneath were comments like, "Wait, this is the same family that left her out of that barbecue, right? Didn't she used to pay their bills? LOL, now they want her money?" The audacity. Apparently, someone pieced the story together. People remembered. That live stream? It had burned its way into the internet's memory. And now, the same people who cheered their party were dragging them for begging. Their GoFundMe raised $92. The goal was $10,000. Meanwhile, my inbox was filling with requests for interviews. People wanted to hear my side.
Podcasts.
Local news. One reporter offered to fly out and do a video feature. I declined. Because my revenge wasn't going viral. It was living well. I posted one photo, just one. Me on a balcony in a silk robe, holding coffee, ocean behind me. No caption. And yet, somehow it said everything. Serena texted me, "You really think you're better than us now?" I didn't respond. Mom tried next. "You're embarrassing the family." To which I almost replied, "You embarrassed yourselves." I just stopped cleaning up after it. But I didn't send it. Silence was better. Silence was louder. Then Jesse messaged me one night. "They're freaking out. Dad's blaming everyone. Mom keeps crying." Serena deleted Instagram. I asked, "How are you holding up?" He replied, "Better now. I think I needed to see all this. I used to think you were just moody. But now I get it. You were exhausted." That was the moment I knew I'd made the right choice. I didn't want to destroy them. I just wanted to stop disappearing for them. Let them feel what it's like to live without me. Not because I want them to suffer, but because I want them to learn. Love isn't a transaction. And loyalty without respect is just self-betrayal.
It was a Sunday. Quiet.
The kind of day made for healing. Soft sunlight, clean floors, music low in the background. I had just made cinnamon tea and lit a new candle when the buzzer rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I looked through the peephole, my stomach didn't twist. It hardened. There they were,
Mom, Dad.
and Serena, all standing in the hallway of my apartment building, dressed like they were going to church, not storming the gates of the daughter they left out. Dad stepped forward and pressed the intercom again.
Danielle.
We need to talk. His voice was tired, rough around the edges. I picked up the receiver, but didn't buzz them in. Instead, I just said, "Now you remember where I live?" There was a pause. Then Mom's voice, soft like a blanket over a weapon. "We didn't mean to hurt you. Can we please come in?" I almost laughed. Come in? After they pretended I didn't exist on the one day that used to belong to all of us? After lying, excluding, and then expecting me to pay their bills? Serena tried next. "We didn't think it would turn into all this, okay? It was supposed to be simple. A low-key thing. It got big. We didn't mean to go behind your back."
Stop, I said.
The line went quiet. I could hear them shifting awkwardly, like kids waiting for a scolding. It was poetic. I took a deep breath and said what I had rehearsed in my mind for weeks. "You needed me when you wanted food on the table. But I needed you on barbecue night. And you weren't there." Dad muttered something. I didn't care what. I kept going. "You celebrated behind my back. You lied to my face. And then, like always, you only came looking when something broke." "We're your family," Mom snapped. "No," I said, calm and clear. "You were. But family doesn't use silence as punishment and love as a transaction." Serena's voice trembled. "You're being dramatic." I smiled. There it was. The old poison in a new bottle. "No, Serena. This is called a boundary. You're just not used to seeing me with one." Dad knocked again. "Danielle, come on. Let us in." And I said the most liberating words I've ever spoken.
No.
Just that. No screaming. No crying. No open arms. No more justifying my pain to people who refuse to feel it. I hung up the receiver and walked away. They stayed out there for another minute, maybe 5. But eventually, I heard their footsteps retreat.
Slow. Heavy.
I didn't look through the peephole again. I didn't need to. I already knew how they looked when they left. For the first time in my life, I wasn't standing at the door, hoping they'd return. I was standing behind the door, relieved that they were finally on the other side of it. And for the first time ever, that door was closed for me. It's strange how quiet life becomes when you stop bleeding for people who never brought you bandages. Weeks passed after they showed up at my door. No more calls. No more guilt texts. No more GoFundMe links. The silence didn't scare me anymore. It healed me. I filled that quiet with things that made me feel alive. I started taking yoga on Wednesdays. Started writing again. Not in a journal hidden from shame, but in a blog where strangers left kind comments. I laughed out loud at movies, not worried about someone needing a Cash App link mid-punchline. I bought art. Booked a solo trip to Lisbon. I spent the $4,600 they asked for on me, on things that made me feel. And for once, I didn't feel guilty about it. I didn't check their social media. I didn't block them out of spite. I just moved them to a part of my life that didn't get front row seats anymore. That's the thing they don't tell you about healing. Sometimes it's not about revenge. Sometimes it's just about finally spending your life on yourself. One Saturday, I volunteered at a local food drive in the neighborhood where I grew up. It used to be something our family did together. But this time, I went alone, and I brought more than just donations. I brought experience. I created a small fund for single women struggling with toxic families. Quiet grants. No red tape. Just support. I called it the Forgiven Line. Not because I forgave them, but because I forgave myself for staying too long. And as I handed a grocery bag to a woman with tired eyes, she smiled and whispered, "It means a lot when someone shows up. Thank you." That's when it hit me. I had spent so many years showing up for people who only opened the door when they wanted something. Now I was showing up for people who were grateful I knocked. That night, I sat in my living room, candles lit, feet up, scrolling through photos of Lisbon apartments, just dreaming. And a text came in. Not from Mom. Not from Dad. Not from Serena. From Jesse. I'm proud of you, Danny. You made it out. And I cried. Because I had. I had made it out of the trap of being the reliable one. Out of the house where love came with terms and loyalty had expiration dates. Out of the lie that said, to be good, you must give until there's nothing left. Not anymore. Now I gave with full hands and a full heart to people who never asked for more than I could give. People who saw me, not just my wallet. And the final message I ever sent to my parents came weeks later, after a brief letter arrived asking if we could have a mature conversation and put the past behind us. I replied, the past made me strong. The present makes me free. I don't hate you. I'm just not coming back. That was it. No drama. No revenge fantasy.
Just peace.
Priceless, untouchable peace. They taught me how to give everything until I finally gave to myself. Not because I stopped loving them, but because I started loving me.